Well, the Great Guitar Build-Off is now finished. I have no idea who's won, partly because I haven't looked on Instagram, but mostly because I've actually started recording this before the deadline, so kind of time travelling and things has happened, which ties in quite nicely with a couple of the themes. Well, it's time to start another build. During the Great Guitar Build-Off, I was chatting with a few of the other builders and various conversations about whether it's possible to do this and that and how would this or the other turn out were had. Chris Franklin had quite a good question of, we were kind of thinking about things like the bent plywood furniture and stuff and how that would transfer into a guitar. I quite like that question. Years ago I was actually told by someone that it's impossible to build a nice guitar from plywood. To which I pointed out that you've got all the hollow body Gretsches, well, not all, but quite a lot of hollow body Gretsches, Gibson hollow bodies, the ES335, 339, quite a lot of guitars from the 50s, like the hollow bodied Harmony Stratotone, lots of things like that, which technically, yes, it was maple and poplar, I believe, in some, but it's plywood. At that time I did build a guitar which I don't know if any photos exist. It was one of the first guitars I built when I was still using the name 4th Ave. If any pictures of it exist, they will probably be appearing somewhere around the screen at the moment. If they don't, then I'll probably cut this bit out and you'll never know. But that guitar I gave to that friend as basically a kind of, there you go, play it. Tell me now you can't build a guitar out of plywood. I did, however, take it literally, and I found good quality, kind of solid birch ply, but it was still standard kind of construction plywood. I don't plan on doing that to figure this one out. I think I'm going to take the definition of plywood rather than construction grade plywood. I want to see if I can do something with layered veneers. And obviously, because we were discussing bending it, I think I want to do something with that. The other day I took a drive out to a new timber yard that I'd found that they can deal in a lot of live edge stuff and offcuts from furniture factories and things, which is a good way to get little bits and pieces if you can find them, because they're usually quite nice bits of wood, but it's too small to make furniture with. So you can get good neck blanks or offcuts for the end of a board, which make quite a good body blank, or you can even mix and match and do just loads of offcuts. I picked up a piece of what says it's teak, but I've never seen any teak that looks like this. It's really nice. It's almost Padauk coloured, just with a little bit more brown than the red. And the end grain, it's almost flat sawn, so I can take off this edge here, rip it up the middle, and I'll have two almost perfectly oriented mirror images of the grain, which will give me some nice figuring and kind of pretty patterns from the grain if I flip them on their sides and use it for a neck blank that way. What I also have laying around in the workshop from a base that I built is a tapered piece of wenge, or wenge. I like calling it wenge. Which is pretty much the most evil wood on the planet, the splinters will go straight through your hand and instantly go septic. It's like working with compacted needles. It's horrible. But when it's all sanded up, it's gorgeous. And it makes a really nice sounding instrument as well. So I'm going to use some of this. I think what I'm going to do is a full neck through. And I quite fancy doing a kind of slightly modern take on a classic shape. So I think I'm going to do a Strat type shape. What I'm going to do with this is plane up this wedge, because this face is nice and smooth. This face is fresh off the saw. The eagle-eyed amongst you may have noticed, if you've watched other videos, that I've had a tidy up. I've cleared things and I've swept. I have swept. Believe it or not, there is actually a floor down here now. Feels weird. I've also grabbed out my number 8 plane and given it a sharpen. It's now sharper than it's ever been in its entire life, which I can attest to because I brushed past it by accident and barely even felt it, but my hand hurts now because it's starting to get sore. I cut myself. So I'm going to get that, and I'm going to get this nice and smooth. And then I think I'm going to plate this piece of teak, run that through the table saw and get that all to size, and then possibly find, I think I've got some mahogany veneer, which will be nice and subtle but should add a little pinstripe between these, and we'll get some of that between and see if I can get a neck blank glued up today. So whilst this is gluing up, I thought we'd have a bit of a chat. I'm quite sure there are people sat there asking the question right now, why teak? It's a good question. Teak doesn't seem to get used very much for guitars, and as far as I can tell, there are a couple of reasons. One being, it's quite dense and heavy, and obviously you don't really want heavy in a guitar, but there are ways around that. That's largely irrelevant as far as the reason goes for me. The main one, I think, is that it's hard. And we're not talking it's quite tough hard. We're talking Chuck Norris levels of hard up here. Just running it through the table saw was hard work. And my table saw's not lightweight. So the reasons I am using it, predominantly because I saw it and it was pretty and I wanted to. Does there need to be another reason? Glue's dried. I need to plane this face flat enough that I can use my table saw and the fence to trim this down to the right size, and then I can get it nice and square. It's looking really nice already. The important thing to remember is that the thickness planer gets your two faces parallel. It doesn't necessarily get them flat. Now we're nice and flat, we do measuring and drawing, and more measuring, and more drawing, and more measuring, lots of measuring, because we need to measure it right. Okay, so whilst measuring, my body template's changed. I'm going to use my Phoenix body shape because I think it'll be cool. And also, I'm going to do a multi-scale because I haven't done one yet and I quite fancy it. This is going to be nothing like the last Phoenix.